It is time to once again bring in Tim, Luke, and Greg Schramm, the appraisal guys, the frick and frack of Nick and Knack with Appraise. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Greetings.
Greetings and good morning. Are you both in the same location? Or are you split up like
No, we are.
split
No,
up?
we are.
You
In
guys
the
are
same location.
you guys are like an amoeba. You split up every now and then.
Well,
to come back.
you never know where we're going to be.
That's right. Come back together. Greg, first of all, how's your mom?
Well, thank you for asking. She's at the end of life.
Yeah.
She's in hospice right now. So, but I want to thank everybody for their thoughts, and it's a tough thing, but it's the circle of life, I guess, is the way to say it. But thank you. I want to thank everybody for their support and their thoughts.
And there's nothing like I'm a huge believer in hospice. I went through it with my mother as I was the primary caregiver, and they make things a heck of a lot clearer, easier to understand and take. And just the part I liked about the end of life experience with my mom was the flood of memories that came rushing back.
Yes,
and have stayed with me to this day since.
That's great.
Yeah. So, our best to your mom and to you, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. On to the topic of people and their money and their things.
Well, I think I'm going to let Tim start with his because I have something.
We're going to end with you? Okay,
yes,
so
we're going to end with me.
Right, because you can then give us the big demand. This is Greg's favorite. So
I'm chomping at the bit for this one.
Okay, so last week we had talked about the BB King auction that Julian's was doing, and that took place on Saturday, and there were some amazing things that sold. Now, of course, and we talked about this last week, the Lucille, his guitar, which I had mentioned was conservatively estimated at $80,000 to $100,000. That actually ended up selling for $280,000, which really is no big surprise. But what was a bigger surprise, and it just goes to show not only BB King but vinyl, when you combine those two things, it was his original 78 RPM records that were all BB King records that were sold. They had an estimate of like $500 to $700, and it ended up selling for $51,200. So that combination of vinyl, it was BB King's, they were his, and they were all BB King records. So great. That was the great thing that really drove that price up. And a number of, it was interesting because I had also talked about last week, there were a number of those, his stage-worn jackets, a lot of those shimmery jackets and different things. And what it never ceases to amaze me, it was like when I did the Hugh Hefner auction with all of his silk pajamas. It's like, okay, here's another group of silk pajamas, and they all would bring, around the same amount. Well, the same thing with BB King's jackets. There were a couple that spiked, and they were probably because of, they were either Grammy performances or significant performances from his long stage career. But they were all selling, they were all estimated in the $800 to $1,200, and they were all selling in the $1,500 to $3,000 range. And interesting to see, like, the personal effects and different things, whether they were stage worn or not, some photographs. But it looked like it was a very successful sale, that there was a lot of active bidding, which I think for a legend like BB King, that you would expect that, especially for all of the Grammys and just the lifetime of achievement in music. One of the other things is his King's Gold Finish Merry Christmas Gibson Lucille guitar with a Christmas tree drawing on the body, and that ended up selling for $25,000. So a lot of interesting items, and I'm sure the estate, I believe it was the estate that was selling this, would be very happy with all of those results. But those records, that's what there was another group of also just regular record albums, and they also surpassed the estimates. So it's interesting to see, and I think we've talked about this before, is that vinyl totally having a comeback, and collectors appreciate it. And I think that now people can play those records too, so they can go back to that nostalgic sound of the needles skipping, or that which I just remember as a kid and loved. So that's B.B. King.
It doesn't surprise me though with B.B. King. Anybody that was a fan of B.B. King's, he's almost. It's like, God forbid, years down the road when we're not even around. Just wait till Bruce Springsteen stuff comes up.
Right.
Someone's going to make a lot of money on the individual things that Bruce Springsteen has touched. You get certain entertainers that when they're that longevity, they touch so much. There's a lot out there for them.
And they cross over several generations as well.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing.
The big thing.
All right. Now we have to, as they do in show business, we go from the opening act today.
Yes.
This is it, folks. Which I'm not putting any pressure on you, Greg, but you are the big act here. You're the finale.
I'll perform here. I'll perform. If you remember, one of my favorite portions when we first started was the stupid thieves and stupid crimes and things.
Yeah.
Well, Blenheim Palace, which is the birthplace of Winston Churchill, has an Italian artist by the name of Maurizio Catalan. Maurizio Catalan, who is an Italian contemporary artist, and he's really out there, and some really fun stuff. Had an fully plumbed 18-karat gold toilet.
Oh, that's that? Yep.
Yeah. Yes, and it's been traveling. I mean, and now it's
a traveling toilet. So.
And now it's traveling because somebody it's fully plumbed, which means it was usable and people could use it. And you had 3 minutes to look at it. But somebody actually ripped it out of Winston Churchill's bathroom. And they stole an 18-karat gold toilet and walked out the front door.
Amazing.
Didn't they schedule time to use it? I mean, they could actually not only look at it, but they could actually use the toilet.
I saw a picture of it. All right. I hope it's a warm bathroom.
I know.
Well. The interesting thing is there was a line that was so long that the artist, when it was at the Guggenheim in 2016, never even got to use it. So they had the lines are so long that they scheduled them for 20. There were over 20 people in line I forget how long, and the lines were so long that they had to limit it at the Guggenheim to a minute and a 90 seconds, a minute and a half, and then but when it was at Blenheim Palace, you had a full 3 minutes. So I'm sorry, this has got to be one of the best stories I've told for a long time, and it was fully functioning. Fully plumbed, and it shows a picture. They actually have a picture of how it was ripped out, and the only thing that's left are the pipes and the place and the hole in the floor where it was sitting.
Now, was it solid gold or gold plated?
No, it was gold, solid gold, 18 karat.
How did even two people get that?
That's going to be heavy. I know. Well, they had a dolly. No, I don't know.
Hello, Dolly. Boy, there's a lot of liners you can use with this one.
Do
they really think that toilet's still around? If somebody went to all the trouble to pull it out and rip it out, it's been melted down already.
They're going to melt it down. I mean, that's why they would.
That's
think
a lot of gold.
I would assume that's a lot of gold.
Well, the artist did say that he hoped that it was like a Robin Hood type of artist that was going to do something good with it, like maybe melt it down and give the money away. But yeah, hello, wake up and wake up and smell what's in the toilet.
Yeah. I wonder how much it weighed. How much did it weigh? Does anybody know?
No, I have been looking all over to find out if they could say how much it weighed. They didn't say. Did not say.
I mean, that had to be an organized. I mean, some sort of hand truck or something that they. And as far as the cameras, you're just going to walk out with a gold toilet? I mean, you have to. I mean, that's
especially if it was functioning. There's got to be a trail of water.
You would think.
Well, you would think. But the interesting thing about it is, this is where it gets a little. When they did the original exhibition, the exhibition was at Blenheim in, I guess it was 2018. For open to the public, but I guess the toilet was still there, and when the president made his tour of England, when he was, this was his what do you call it? The tour of he wasn't at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah,
so he ended up going to Blenheim. So. Apparently, he was a guest there, and used it.
He probably had it. He probably had a case to joint, and then had somebody come back later and steal it.
I swear to God,
we should check out Trump Tower.
That's right.
This is like my favorite saying, and we say it all the time. You can't make this. I was going to say, but you can't make this stuff up.
It's a story that sticks with you though, because once you see the picture of the toilet, you just say to yourself, "Okay, somebody stole this." That thing. It's hard to carry a toilet because the way they're built anyways. Not that it's just heavy. The weight's all distributed wrong. Never mind one that's made of solid gold. I mean, I'm just amazed. I'm just amazed. Yeah, dolly or no dolly, it's
well, there's a bigger question here for me anyway. If you had a minute and a half or even 3 minutes to admire it, air quotes, I just wonder, they must have had an awfully large box of matches sitting next to there, because the people were queued to go in one after another, and apparently during the entire exhibition there was never a place in line. I mean, it was like packed.
That's a lot of flushing.
That's a lot of flushing.
Well, do you think they had those things you used to find in the restrooms and garages? The paper things?
I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. Yes,
I'll tell you what. I'm sorry. This is the last thing in the world I want to do is sit on
I know.
On an 8-hour car drive, I'll explode. I'll literally explode till I get to where I have to go.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people that if I see something, usually if it doesn't answer the questions, like when they tell you about what it is, like they've left something out, it always leaves me with more questions than answers. Okay, so they stole the toilet, but what about this? What about this? How did they keep, did they have to clean it between it? There are so many more questions that I have about this ridiculous story, but
an answer.
I can't find the answer.
Well, it's all flushed down the toilet now, because they're never going to find that baby.
It's all gold is gone. Are you kidding me? That's been melted down and distributed.
That's it. All right, guys, we'll speak to you next week.
Sounds good.
Take care,
Have a good week.
Bye-bye. Tim Luke, Greg Schraub, the appraisal guys, the frickin' frack of Nick and Knack. Appraise this, so you'll find them at tqag.com on the web.